Hello students, welcome back to one more session of our online classes. Today we'll be discussing about organizational change and development. I'll be sharing you the screen and the PPT will be showing you the different concepts which I'm going to discuss here. So this is the slides where you're going to know what points I'm going to cover today. So we're going to talk about, as I said, is change and development in an organization. Now, change is said to be spice of life. Change is very much necessary to be on our toes and go hand in hand with today's competitive environment. So change is a process where an organization moves from its present state to a desired future state because of different uh, different reasons or needs which make them effective and on par with the competitive environment. Changes are both external and internal. The forces are very much necessary for us because change happens from both internal and external factors. It also changes the system as a whole. Even a small change in one part of the organization can affect the different parts. So it may affect people, the structure, the technology, the working style, the culture. Also, change is affected by the rate and the significance of it, why that change is needed. Is it by the people's uh, inner need, or it is become proactive? Means change can be both reactive as well as proactive. So a best example is today's current scenario. Many of the companies have shifted their working style from uh, uh, to online and work at home. So this is a reactive change rather than a proactive change because they want their companies going and make profit. Similarly, you can have Zomato, Swiggy, which were initially only delivering food items, are now shifting to groceries and other items. So see how change is important. Even though if we are not ready for it, we have to sometimes adapt to new circumstances and change our style of working. So I said changes are both internal and external forces. So internal forces can be the people itself, that is a workforce, the top management of the or the managerial personnels. The structure of the organization may be changed, maybe because they are expanding their business and opening new units in remote corners of the world, also to avoid developing inertia. On the other hand, external forces are changes in technology, in marketing styles, competition, social change, and political forces. Okay, so internal pressure. So one by one, we'll discuss about it. So workforce. So when you are doing business in multiple cultures, say for example, India is called as a subcontinent where we have people from different cultures, languages, region, race. So when the workforce is changing, the style of managing that workforce also has to change drastically because the ethics and culture of different forces are different. So as your workforce becomes multicultural, the way of doing business and way of handling people in the organization has to definitely change. That's the need of the hour, particularly when you are doing business internationally also, because there not only within the nation, you have people from different organizations. Then managerial person. So whenever a new person or a manager comes into picture, he brings his own lifestyle, his culture, his ethics, his way of doing work, which directly or indirectly influences the workforce, the product, its effectiveness, the marketing skills, and so on. So even one manager or top CEO, his own identity will be reflected in the way of doing businesses, and thereby the change can happen. Then management structure. So as I said, when you are expanding, you can't be in the shelter of one few people with a limited supervisor and employee control. So when the company is expanded, the workforce expands. So the structure should be shifted from centralized to decentralized organization, and which is very much necessary because as the organization goes, the number of people you are handling increases, which will not be so flexible if you are having a centralized organization structure. Then avoid developing inertia. So when things are changing, competition is high, there is a need of the hour, you have to change. So you can't be stagnant or stubborn that I won't change, because the group, within the group, there will be an inertia. Inertia means the laziness of not adapting to change. This is what happens in government style of organization, where they are very rigid about change. They don't want to work in time, discipline. So to develop, to avoid such inertia also, constantly we have to change our working style. Then sometimes why organization change is because of the external pressures, technological advances. So you can say 20 years ago, where in every office there was not a computer, nobody used web and so on. But as technology advanced, using of internet, of computers, of technology became the need of the hour for speedy, effective work. And slowly, even though they didn't had that intention to change, they had to adopt it. Then political forces. So as the political scenario in a country changes, the business style, the laws change, and thereby you have to change your or a business style. Say, for example, currently, lately in this 5, 7 years, we are talking about Make in India. We are talking about bringing outside fund in here. So more of enhancing the internal business and profit is more. So there is a sea change in how people are doing business. Then marketing conditions. As I told you, this 21st century is a consumer oriented industry where you have to be on your toes so that you woo and please the consumers ahead of your competitors. So you have to be ahead of your competitors. You have to do something different, because nowadays consumers get used to or get bored to certain products or services very easily. So you have to have new uh, trends or marketing style or package so that you be in the market with huge profits. Next important change agent is the social change. If you take the current example of this pandemic, that is COVID-19, say very soon people will be already, not very soon, already people have become very much hygiene oriented. They are talking about cleanliness everywhere, which will affect the service sector, especially the hospitality sector, because this hygiene is become like a you can say a consumer trend in this new era or this pandemic era or post pandemic area, which will make companies to change their style of doing business and style of presenting the services. So we talked about external and internal sources. So we can say that these all sources or factors become agents. So an agent means a person or a factor which is responsible for changing the management activities. So whoever is responsible for such an adaptation or such a movement, we call them as change agent. So they can be managers, they can be current employees, they can be competitors, they can be consultants, and so on. Then the process of change. Now, change is not that easy for everyone. There is a lot of resistance for this change. So that this resistance of change is limited, we have to plan the changing process. So it has 3 phases, that is unfreezing, moving, and refreezing. So unfreezing means trying to come out of the shelter zone from, that is the daily things you were doing for a couple of years in the organization, maybe the style of doing work, the leadership style, the organization structure or type of employees. So first you have to come out of that soft or secure zone. So what we call it as unfreezing means trying to entangle yourself from the old experiences, old routines. So you have to make your mind clear, and make the manager as well as has to make the employees feel comfortable for this change. So first thing is that suddenly, instead of pressurizing the change, you have to make them comfortable that something is going to change, and you have to give them some training sessions. So this is called as unfreezing. So when you have made them mentally ready for the change, then you have to go to the second step, that is moving. You have to provide sufficient information to them how you can change the small things. The change shouldn't be wide, on a spur of movement and drastic. It should be a slow process. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to get 100%, you can say, voting for such a change. So you have to provide the employees with sufficient information for the different aspects of which things or which SOPs you are going to change. Then slowly you have to bring a shift in the behavior. So once you tell them what to do, how to do, and the process is continued for a couple of days or weeks, then it becomes, like a habit. So you have changed when you continuously, it's a human tendency. If you continuously practice something for a couple of times or a couple of days, we start adopting it more easily. First, it will be a little difficult. So then once you have done this, then you have to refreeze your total evaluation systems, what kind of employees you're going to recruit in the next time. Because you don't want that whenever new people will come, again, you have to change them. No, now you have to bring in those employees or applicants who are already ahead of the times. So you have to change your evaluation systems, your hiring and promotion system. So this is a planned process. No doubt it feels like there's only 3 steps, but it takes a lot of time because people are very much hesitant to change. So one example I can give you is Coca-Cola. It has changed seeing its competitors. It is giving a variety of products. It is also changing based on different destinations. In India, it has a particular products. In Australia, there are different. So based on what is the need of the hour, the amount of competition, the flavors, the color, and different varieties are being changed. Then how should be, or what should be the speed of change? So this is a criteria which depends on several factors, whether is how urgency there is for that change. For example, particularly in this pandemic, there was an urgent need of changing the way of doing work, that is through Zoom, through online, working at home. So when even though you are not comfortable it, sometimes external or internal environment is so drastic that you have to change yourself very quickly. Similarly, say for example, when there is a takeover, that is one company is buying another company. Okay, so that time also people, the company which is being bought, they feel it very first difficult, that they may feel that we are going to be thrown out. So you have to change yourself so that the new boss will not throw you out. So that urgency of change depends upon how much time you have to react. Then degree of support. The more support the management shows to the employees, it is easier for you to change in a proper time. Then amount and complexity of change. So when the change is very drastic, it can't be done overnight or in urgency. It has to take slow steps, one by one, small baby steps, and then it reaches destination. Then when there is a competitive environment, here you can't show laziness or slowness. You have to be on toes, adapt as soon as possible. Then the next criteria is the knowledge and skills available. Sometimes what happens is changing the existing employees or people is very difficult. You have to get new people. So when people with knowledge and skill are readily available, the change becomes very much easy. If not, skill set is limited in the environment or in the market, that time it can't be done speedily. Then lastly, but not the least, very much important is you can change anything easily when you have the required financial and other resources. If there is a financial constraint or resource constraint, changing becomes a very costly affair or it becomes near to impossible. So these are a few things about organizational change. This is a big introduction. In my next session, I'll be talking about the different change, what are the factors or views of resistance of change. So that's for it for today. Okay, bye. We'll meet in the next session.